Hey guys, welcome back. Hope you're all well. Right, okay, so last night Sony had their PlayStation meeting for 2016 where they unveiled a couple of new consoles, so I thought I'd just make a video, give my reaction, let you know what I thought. So I'm going to run down everything that was discussed last night first of all, give you a bit of insight to my reactions at the time, and then at the end I'm going to wrap up and just tell you my thoughts 24 hours, well, no, 12 hours later. So, because some more information has come out since, which makes it quite interesting. So anyway, first up, they announced a new PlayStation 4 Slim, which is no surprise, we all knew it was coming. There's images all over the internet, so all of those images are real. Basically, it's not really like a normal traditional Slim line. It looks the same as a standard one, and it's just going to take the place. So it won't be, you'll have the PS4 and the PS4 Slim, you'll just have this new Slimline version, which isn't that much different to the original in size from what I can see. Maybe it is, doesn't look like it. And it's got a matte finish, which I don't personally like. I prefer the look of the original. The original's a pain in the ass to clean because of the gloss, but it does look nicer than the new version. But hey, it comes out September the 15th at £259. I believe that was $299 US. Next up, they announced the new console, which we've obviously been waiting for, which has been codenamed Project Neo, PlayStation Neo. Everyone's been talking about it. It's now officially called the PlayStation 4 Pro. Now, I've got to say, I don't like the name. I think the name's crap. I don't know what they were thinking when they come up with that name. I assume it's to appeal to hardcore. I hate that term, hardcore, but gamers. But yeah, I don't know. I think personally they should have kept it simple and called it PlayStation 4K, PS4K. Very simple, easy for everyone to understand, from gamers to non-gamers and parents. It makes perfect sense what it actually does. It's a 4K machine. It's very simple. Although what I'm going to talk about later will probably explain why they didn't do that. So anyway, yeah, it's the PS4 Pro. Not the greatest name in the world, but hey, it's just a name. It's what it can do that matters. Then Mark Cerny comes out, who I absolutely love. Big fan of Mark Cerny. He's just got such an interesting delivery. His voice is like the most relaxing, soothing voice. And if you listen to the rhythm of the way he speaks, it's so different to anybody else. I don't know why he speaks that way, but I really like it. Yeah, I always enjoy watching him on stage. So he was talking about the technical side. Now, I don't understand the power and all that, so I'm not even going to try and understand it. He did mention that they doubled the GPU, which is nice. I know what GPU stands for, so that's a start, isn't it? It's going to have a 1 terabyte hard drive, which is good, I suppose. Although, of course, with 4K games, if you're a digital gamer, surely that's going to ram that hard drive pretty quickly, and you're going to need to buy another hard drive. So I don't know. That might not be the best idea. It does 4K, it does HDR, high dynamic range, which the usual marketing spiel. It gives you blacker blacks, richer colours, blah, 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 blah. It does, from what I've seen, actually make a difference. Now, of course, seeing it on your 1080p TV via a streamed video on the internet is never going to give you the true representation of what HDR looks like. But it gives you a good idea, and it looks great. So if it looks great on there, when you sit on a true 4K display with a 4K device connected, it's going to be impressive. I looked at some of the Ultra Blu-rays when they first came out, the UHDs, and some of the videos that were put up about those from people who've got the machines. Very impressive. The Mad Max one in particular really showed what HDR can do. It looked absolutely stunning. So yeah, I was quite impressed with that. So next up, they showed some gameplays of certain games just to give you a flavour of what they're going to look like with the new Pro enhancements. So you've got Tomb Raider, Watch Dogs 2, For Honor from Ubisoft, which is their new medieval game, which looks really cool, and Spider-Man from Insomniac. Now, for me, the one that stood out was Spider-Man, because they do a cinematic. You see a guy get out of his car. Was it get out or get in? I can't remember. Anyway, they pan up the street. You see all the draw distance, and it shows what the technical capabilities are. Very nice. But then they pan up into the sky where Spider-Man's sitting up top, and they do a close-up on his face. And now this is where you really see the power of PS4 Pro. It is only a cinematic, it's not in-game, so take it with a pinch of salt. But the detail on his mask, unbelievable, really, really impressive. So yeah, I quite like that. Next up, they did a HDR demo for the new game that's coming out called Days Gone, which, if you remember from E3 2016, was a game announced for PS4 coming out, which is a zombie game, post-apocalyptic, usual thing. A guy from a biker gang, but it had like thousands of zombies chasing him. It looked really technically impressive at E3. I was blown away by that game. And they showed how HDR can improve nighttime, which I thought was a really nice thing to see, because generally gaming over the years, when they do nighttime, it's just black, and you have to whack the brightness up on your TV to actually see what you're doing. Where this seems to have a real good representation of true nighttime, and it was more like twilight than anything. It wasn't pitch black. You could still see what was going on in the game, and it made sense. So that could be quite a nice touch. Right. Next was forward compatibility. Now this is just one of their marketing terms, but basically it means they're going to patch certain games that you already own. When you buy a PlayStation 4 Pro, there'll be a patch available, and it will give Pro abilities to it, so it'll improve it and make it look nicer. Also, you can carry your save games over, apparently, from what I've heard, which is really good. You know, 'cause there's nothing worse than having to start over again, is there? And this is a game you love, of course. Okay, then they showed Horizon Zero Dawn from Guerrilla, which again still looks absolutely stunning. I'm not really interested in the game myself because I don't trust Guerrilla as a developer. They make beautiful looking games but very boring games to play. And yeah, the things that stood out for me there was the character model, really. The way the hair moved, the colours on the clothing, the textures of the cloth, everything looked really, really impressive. So yeah, quite a nice demo. And if I watched it afterwards, because obviously I was streaming it at first, I got a decent broadband connection, so I'm getting it at 1080p anyway. But I watched it on a proper uploaded video. Yeah, it looks really, really nice. And on the PlayStation meeting afterwards, they were having a discussion with developers and whatnot. They was talking to Herman, I think it was Herman, yeah it was, from Guerrilla, and they had a massive TV behind them. And the quality of Zero Dawn just looked ridiculous, so very nice. Then they had the guy from Call of Duty come out and talk about Call of Duty, because they have to. And yeah, I must admit, Infinite Warfare is looking very, very nice. Every time I see this game now, it's got me more interested, because I haven't been hyped for a Call of Duty in a long time. I'm just not interested. Like a lot of people, if you only play campaign, you don't play multiplayer. They haven't been very good for a long time. And so this one is actually looking like a really interesting campaign, something a little bit different, and not like your standard Call of Duty fare. It may still be that, we'll wait and see. But nonetheless, they showed a demo, and you're walking through looks to be a spaceship or a space station, and there's a woman in front dressed in a full space suit. The character model was amazing. It looked so lifelike the way she moved. I was really impressed. Yeah, visually very, very stunning. They said that Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and also Black Ops 3 will have day one patches. Well, Infinite Warfare might not. No, well, when's Infinite Warfare come out? I'm not sure. I think Infinite Warfare comes out just before the Pro. Anyway, they're going to be Pro compatible from day one anyway. That's the most important thing. Okay, also EA said they're going to make FIFA 17, Battlefield 1, Mass Effect Andromeda, all going to have Pro options as well. So that's really nice. They're showing a bit of Mass Effect Andromeda, looks really pretty. They're also going to do a 4K streaming, which is really good, because obviously we need more 4K material, because at the moment if you've got a 4K TV, you're a bit limited. I mean, you've got 4K Blu-ray. I don't know what else there is, I haven't seen anything else. But they're going to do Netflix app 4K, going to have Narcos Season 2 and Luke Cage, which is up and coming on Netflix, both going to be 4K, which is nice. They're also developing a YouTube app for 4K, very cool. Don't really see the point, but fair enough. And interestingly, next week they're doing a HDR upgrade to the standard PS4 via a firmware update, which is interesting because I wouldn't have thought that the standard PS4 is capable of doing HDR. So if you have got a HDR TV, bonus, that's quite nice. And then, of course, the important bit, the price and the date. So it's PlayStation 4 Pro will be released on the 10th of November at £349. The only thing I'll say is, when they unveiled this thing, it's huge. It's absolutely massive. I couldn't believe it. Andrew House looked like he was struggling to hold it. I mean, it made him look small. It was so big. It basically looks like a PS4 with an extra layer on top, like a three-tiered cake. I'm not really sure what they were thinking there. It looks alright. I mean, they've got it standing vertically on one of them little crap plastic stands, and I just thought, well, that's going to break, because it's going to weigh a ton. It's got to. It's like old Xbox style. Anyway, so that's that. So I watched that last night. That's all the information they gave us. So since then, I found out something really interesting about PlayStation 4 Pro. Now, going into the meeting, I wasn't really expecting too much, because it's HD all over again. You know, it's a bump in resolution. They've pushed in HDR because they realised that bumping resolution really isn't that big a deal to make you pay all that money to upgrade. So HDR does add a nice little bit of extra. But the problem is, this is HD all over again. Apparently, they've now released a press release which states that this PlayStation 4 Pro does not natively display 4K. It only upscales the games to 4K, like the Xbox One S. Also, it doesn't have a 4K UHD Blu-ray player installed. That is a mistake. I'm really not quite sure what is going on here, because if you look at it, you've got the Xbox One S, which is at the moment 2 terabyte, £349 as far as I'm aware at the moment. So 350 quid. PS4 Pro comes out in November, 1 terabyte, so you've got less storage, no Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray player. Xbox One S 2 terabyte does have a 4K Blu-ray player, currently the cheapest 4K Blu-ray player on the market, and they're both the same price. That's a mistake, because the Xbox is also bringing out a 1 terabyte and a 500 gig, and from what I've read, the 1 terabyte will be £300 and it'll be £250 for a 500 gigabyte. So if you're like me and you don't have that much stuff on your hard drive, you can potentially talk £100 difference between an Xbox One S and a PS4 Pro. Even if you wanted storage in a 1 terabyte, it's 50 quid difference, and you get a Blu-ray, a 4K Blu-ray player. So the problem obviously is going to be now, next year, Xbox is bringing out Scorpio next Christmas, which apparently, according to Xbox at the moment, is a native 4K. So it's not just upscaling. So what does that mean? Sony said that they were working on this from the day that they released the PlayStation 4 from launch. They've worked on it, which is normal practice. Most companies do. As soon as they launch a console, they're already looking at what they're going to do next. Of course, they obviously thought, oh, well, this will be a nice stopgap for a few years, keep it refreshed, the units and everything, keep the interest. And Microsoft will probably do the same, which they did. Of course, they didn't obviously assume that Microsoft would also do a native 4K system. So the problem is now, even if whether you've got the money or not, I mean, I personally don't. There's no way I can upgrade at any point in the future. So it doesn't really affect me, even if I wanted to. But even if you can, is there any point really? Because you look at it, and you could buy a PS4 Pro, you can buy an Xbox One S. But next year, there's a native 4K machine coming out from Xbox. Now, of course, it does come down to games. Both consoles have exclusive games that might interest you. And, not all of us can own both consoles. I'm lucky that I can. I do own PS4 and Xbox One. But if you can't, you can only own one console, you've got to choose. It will always come down to the games that you buy, so I understand that. But it just seems to me like it's a massive arms race. It's an Apple situation. The problem you're going to have is PS4 Pro comes out in November. How long is it going to be? Is it going to be a year? Is it going to be 2 years? Is it going to be 3 years? Before Sony say, well, actually, we need to have a native 4K system to compete with Microsoft's Xbox. That's the problem. And then it just never stops. It just keeps, every couple of years, we'll be iterating on the hardware. And, as a consumer, I just don't really see that that's practical. I know a lot of people are quite happy to buy an iPhone every year. I mean, I don't buy an iPhone because I don't like Apple as a company. That's a different story. But I'm not comfortable, and I financially would not be able to do that, to upgrade every year or every 2 years. It's just ridiculous. The only good thing that comes out of all of this is that there is no more generations. That you buy a game, no matter what platform you got, be it PS4, Xbox One, Xbox One S, PS4 Pro, Xbox Scorpio, whatever it may be, the games will work on all platforms, and they will be optimized depending on the platform that you own. So therefore, it doesn't matter which console you own, the games will look great on all of them. It's just if you have the top end console, they're going to look even better. Now, this is another issue I have. So I'll just have a drink of my tea. I got suckered, like a lot of people, into the HD craze. Back in the early 2000s, in 2003, I got my first plasma. It must have been 2005 when I got my first actual HD TV, because the plasma originally wasn't HD. It wasn't a thing at the time. And I got the Xbox 360 on launch December 2nd, 2005. And I was fully into HD, and I thought HD was amazing. And then it all started changing. We all got this HD ready, which was fine, 720p displays, everything was great. And then the next thing we know, it's like, but you know what? That really isn't HD that you want. What you want is full HD. You want 1080p, the full experience, the more pixels, the better colours, the blacker blacks, the crisper images. And all the bullshit they're coming out with now about 4K, it's the same bullshit they were coming out with 10 years ago about HD. And we know it's all marketing, they have to sell their products, so they have to come out with all this crap. But it's just like, not again. As I say, you've got PS4 Pro and Xbox S, both upscalers. The true 4K isn't until December 2017 and beyond. And it's like, what? Obviously they think people are stupid enough to want to go and do this, to keep splashing the cash and constantly upgrade. But it's just absolutely ludicrous to me. I mean, I remember back in the day when I used to watch all this HD rubbish, and you get them going, oh yeah, it's got bright colours and it's lifelike and it's got blacker blacks, and you have like Susie Perry on the Game Gadget show sitting in front of a HD display going, oh, it's that real that I can touch it. And it's like, what a load of bollocks. And last night on the same thing on the Sony, some of the Sony execs were saying things like, oh, it's so bright, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. It's like looking through a window. No, it isn't. Don't talk out your ass. It's such bullshit. It's like, it's a bump in resolution. You've got blacker blacks and nicer colours because of your HDR. It's very pretty. But for us gamers, what do we actually get out of it? Okay, draw distance is nicer. You can see a lot more. You don't have to blur it as much. There's more detail. Fantastic. But what do we get from a gameplay standpoint? Sod all from what I can see. It's all about visual fidelity, which is absolutely fine. But graphics do not make a game. Gameplay makes a game. That's what's more important. And we're still at this point in time where they're still patching games day one. You know, that would be more impressive to me if they could say, right, from now on, that won't happen. Games are going to be not perfect, because they never will be, but they're not going to be a broken pile of crap that you're wasting £40, $60 on. That would be more impressive. I'm just sick of this constant arms race for the next best thing. It's like, it does not necessary. The only shining light that comes out of all of it, as I say, is that I'm quite happy to stick with my PS4, my Xbox One, and they're going to last me a few years before I need to upgrade, by which time I'll be able to buy a 4K HDR TV for a decent price, and the PlayStation Pro, or whatever the next PlayStation is going to be, the 4K version, and the Xbox Scorpio would have come down to a reasonable price, and it'll be an easier upgrade. So that is the one truly good thing. If you don't, you know, because a lot of people will be very negative about all this, and I do sound negative, I understand, but the major positive takeaway is always going to be that no matter which console you decide to buy or own currently, you're not going to be left behind. It all depends if you care about visual fidelity. I personally don't. I like a pretty game, and the games on the PS4 and Xbox One look fantastic. So I don't need to have that extra bump. You know, I mean, eventually in the coming years, of course it would be nice to upgrade because I want 4K Blu-ray more than anything. But it's not essential. But current Blu-rays, current games work just fine. It's just too expensive at the moment. And, you know, on top of that, they're throwing the old VR on top of it as well. And, you know, it's just getting silly. I was looking at the TVs. Last time I looked, about a month and a half ago, 4K TVs are relatively cheap for a good size, like a 50-inch. But if you go to the new HDR 4K, you're talking around about 800 plus for a really decent TV. Then you've got obviously another 350 quid for a console, whichever one you buy. You know, I mean, this is the other question. What happens with Scorpio? If Xbox One S, 2 terabytes, 3.5, PS4 Pro is 3.5, what the hell is the Scorpio going to be? It's got to be 4.5, 500, I reckon. And I was expecting 400 for the Pro yesterday, so now I know why, because it's not a real 4K machine, it's upscaler. Yeah, it's always the same thing, and they promise you one thing and don't actually deliver it. Anyway, that's my little thoughts and impressions on the actual 4K, yeah, the PS4 Pro. What did you guys think? Are you impressed? Are you going to buy one? Are you going to do what I'm doing and just wait because either you can't afford to upgrade, or you just think it's the right decision to wait and see what happens? Is 4K a big deal to you? Do you really think that this this jump in fidelity matters that much to your gaming experience? You know, is it something that, like me, you're more interested in film than you are games for the 4K? Anyway, guys, let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. Thank you very much for watching as always. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.